you everyone for coming today. This is quite a crowd for an unknown poet who hasn't been back in town for a bit. It's really great to be here. Thanks Malvern for hosting. It's such a pleasure to read with two of my favorite poets, and I think part of the reason is that our work really does talk. The poems talk amongst themselves, and I think you'll see that in the work that I'll read. And I'll definitely throw in a couple of poems that Susan helped me with, so you can get a sense of that teacher-student relationship. I thought to start, it seemed like we had some persona going on. We had some math, some science. So I thought I'd read a poem that is probably about as scientific as I get. It has a little bit of math in it, and it gives you a sense of what the landscape of the book is like, and this is called Ritual. Give me the bull nettle's bloom so that I may pluck it. Tear my skin into strips, the color of laughter, which is whiter than this page, this preaching even. My life is not a pinch of ash or caliche powder unless first captured here and held, photographic, and as faint as Jesus on the shroud of Turin, whether or not his bones were collected in it. Synaptic caw of the homesick crow perched on a wire fence, teach me to turn from famine so that I may flourish in my own unknowing as the trough of water that is algae-ridden in this pasture until a white tail tongue parts it. I want to be the clean spring water beneath that greenness. Each feather left now in dust, totemic, beckons back a black bit of my incarnation before snakeskin claimed me. My body grows and has grown Germanic as a river mouth swallowing up another. Let my tongue not confess what my soul is about, since I do not know where river reaches ocean and sea jellyfish ease into catfish marshes. The sky between here and the stars has its own alphabet and clear mathematics, all dark matter and mass heavy without measure. I've heard the body is meant to be left, or it isn't. The soul sieves a black hole, maybe. Imagine the weight of that spiraling, absence or presence so dense it makes time its elaborate puppet. If I believe in anything, it's the slow pull of that. Who's to say the soul isn't a destination we approach gradually in an empty pasture? I have a kind of ritual, you might call it praying, that involves listening to a mockingbird's call on the far fence line's edge and then following it into oblivion. Sundown obscures her perch from me, the nest she tends in the live oak's branches. Even so, she is there, and I am here, and neither of us needs a hymnal to take turns singing. And something that I didn't realize until I wrote a book and had other people read it is that violence really plays a role in these poems. There's a lot of guns, a lot of weaponry, a lot of masculinity. And growing up, I think I just kind of assumed that that was the status quo. But the more I wrote about it, the more I thought about it. That's something that I try to reckon with in my poems, and try to figure out what it means to be from a place that has violence that's so integral to it. This is a poem called Ascension that deals with some gun violence, particularly. Ascension. I saw a blue jay eat the breast of a mockingbird. Overhead, trees leaned toward him, and his feast of feathers, broken open and pink as a peach's center. I did not lament this, as I did Jacob Countryman's perished mother, whom he shot and then threw in a gasoline fire right after practice. This meant on Monday, while we pitched together, he planned to do it. Gravity meant less than each 20-gauge cartridge expelled and opened. The soul departs, I've heard, into emptiness blue as violence, or the sky thickening to clot night's appearance. Between the trigger finger and trigger, the air provides no resistance. It is the space around the soul I'm worried about, not the obit's omission of what Margaret felt or did not before death led her from her body, calling out above it. I think of rising when I grieve for her, and the way something evident sometimes isn't until placed beneath us. His fastball rose that day. I reached up and caught it. The coach who taught him how to grip the ball, a two-seam, a four-seam, a curve, was his mother. I wonder what he said to her sliding off the safety. What gets remembered from this life, and are there blue jays after it, is a question I want to ask her. Are you a mockingbird or not? Is there a choir singing there? Are you happy, Margaret? So I think that being from a place where that violence like that exists, sometimes you don't know kind of how to write about it, how to approach it, but you do your best. You do your best, and you try to listen for the voices that come out of that place and out of that landscape. And I wanted to read you a couple of poems from the middle of the book that are personas. Because John, it's great that John was reading his persona work, which I absolutely love. Part of the way I came to John's work was through his poems, and his chapbook Silt Will Swirl is really fantastic. You can buy it on Amazon. It is in digital version. But let me read a couple of persona poems. So these are in the voices of wildflowers. I'm assuming everyone here has probably seen some bluebonnets and things. So they speak in the book. They have a section dedicated just to themselves. And this one's called Choir. And this is all of the wildflowers along the side of the road talking at once. Choir. Give us an hour or give us a day to live. We have so little time. Spawn of thundercloud mouths, we emerged translucent. Turning colorful during our descent, we became flowers then, separating ourselves to build separate towers. Babel-born, our foundations are others' refuse. Broken skull of the calf, bleaching white in the light. Fresh deer droppings, the color and texture of grapes. Fresh deer droppings, the color and texture of grapes. Plastic bottles and burger wrappers left as our seeds' nourishment. Blown here to bloom, we are one and legion. Rain makes millions of us in one wet April week. Visit soon, believe it. Leave a patch of dead grass near the highway for us, and we promise to thrive without any complaints until resurrected. So the flowers in the book, sometimes when you write poems, you like certain poems and other people like different ones. I think most people like the flower poems. They're their favorite thing, and I thought that's funny because I wrote those back when I was Susan's student primarily, but I guess you have no control over what comes out. You just try to listen for it. I want to read you kind of a funnier, sassier wildflower poem. This is called Wine Cups. The book is mostly male voices. The flowers are the kind of the feminine presence in the book, so I always try to read some. This is probably one of my favorite poems in the book. Hopefully it'll make you laugh a little bit. This is called Wine Cups. And if you've never seen a wine cup, it's a small purple flower. You don't usually notice them because they're shorter than the other wildflowers, and they grow kind of in isolation by themselves. Perfect for a poet to write about, I guess. Wine cups. Juke-joint jewels, we gleam regally here. See how poor folks pick us like spam links in their teeth. How we rise like rye whiskey measured on their breath. Queens, we rule the near bardage. We're rude. Royalty ain't got nothing on us. or insatiable lust in the bar bathroom, kissing mixed up with sawdust. If crushed, we stain. If kept in a card or book, we survive well. Pick us wilted for free outside Blue Duck's ice house. Wear us cheaply, lapels for school prom or the shotgun wedding meth heads have if they can afford it. Cristal's overrated. We drink Bud Light out here. Broke, do not be afraid to build bouquets from green common weeds, weave wildflowers in your hair, or make crude white trash wedding vows seem as if Shakespeare wrote them. Let wine glasses be solo cups sold at the Super S. Passionate sex in a pickup's back seat, yes, that too awaits you. Bet you'll feel the gun rack rub your ribs and be pleased by it for some reason. Bet you'll sway slowly, swoon singing country ballads with the radio set to a local station. Romance isn't New York or cafes in Paris. It's the keychain tree dangling low on the Chevy dash. Sweat pearls across your bent neck shining sufficiently. Call them podunk diamonds on your proposal night. Honeymoon will be moon then, looking up. What you worship you'll leave like black bras in back seats. After coming, you'll bare yourself, cry openly. In the salt-riddled dark, without any regrets from the day, you'll escape your shit 12-hour shift at the local truck stop where smoke breaks console you. After one kiss, you'll cave. On no Bible, you'll swear. At the body you love, you'll stare. So I think sometimes we think of poems as always being serious, and so sometimes it's fun to just kind of let the persona say things that you wouldn't, or kind of range around in ways that you wouldn't. I want to leave you with a couple of poems that give you a sense of kind of the people. Hopefully you got a kind of the color of the landscape from those opening bits. But this is the first poem in the book, and it's actually one of the oldest. So Susan, I think, came across it. You always go through revisions and things, so maybe a little different. It's called Llano River Sunset. And the river is really critical to the town in the book. You'll notice that pretty much every poem has the river in it, or some catfish. I'll maybe try to get one of those in here towards the end. So this is called Llano River Sunset, and this gives you a kind of a context for the spiritual, metaphysical place that these poems are coming out of. Because I think that, I can't verify this, but I think that when people die in this town, they kind of go to live at the river as animals, and then they kind of speak out of those animal bodies. So we'll see. Maybe you believe me, maybe you don't. Llano River Sunset. I've heard the river is a portal to the next world. Looking in it, you enter the body you'll be after skin's departure. John Michael slid the gun off safety, fired 2 rounds into his chest, and then said nothing to the river. McCreary got back from Iraq 6 months before that, did the same. My aunt was crazy, schizophrenic. No one heard her on the phone when she asked for their help. Each year I walk across the dam where the 3 of them slipped. This is all I can do before I meet them at sunset. Leaving an elegy of yellow perch and stars burning blue and ash white, there is a mist of gnats to swallow what I say. And the river feels cool where my feet step in it, though its concrete lip burns. The old man fishing with his grandson between me and the horizon is enough. Let the end of grief be both of them saying, look, like a homily, hauling up over the dam 13 moon-slick catfish. Sometimes when you're a poet, not usually, but sometimes a poem will just kind of drop in your lap and you'll say, okay, I'm going to write this down. And one day, let me just pull it up here. One day I was driving through Llano and I saw this clothesline and there were these giant catfish heads hung up on it drying. It's really strange. And I thought, man, if I can't write a poem about this, then I should quit being a writer. So since we open with that image of the catfish, let me read you a catfish poem. This is called Catfish Heads on a Clothesline. And kind of a fun gloss on that is in poetry there's a type of poem called an ekphrastic poem, which is this Greek word, basically a poem about a painting. So I can say this is my ekphrastic poem, right? Picture of the catfish heads on a clothesline. Whoever cut them from their spines was a preacher, I'll bet, or else wanted to show off each shearing of maw from body flawlessly. All these glistening ampersands of grief. Loose string of ease found in etc. 3 repeated vowels pinned up to complicate flesh. My obsession with it. In the breezes twisting of each wan, whiskered head, obscene dangling wind chimes. And the calm after it, slime glint, sonic nothing. I'm the shrunken dead like them here, witch brew hoodoo, my skin wrinkled, greening the sky's bluer potion. Sacrifice me to whichever gods you think left this catch as evidence of end times approaching. My oblivion comes as catfish possession, fulfilling the cycle between night and day, brain and gut, citizenship and city. Every night I become one. We rise from this clothesline again. Floating back to the bank of the river together, we dream of bodies, though we never find them. If the spirit does anything just before death, lifted catfish head, craving a hell or heaven that is saltless, mapless, I believe it wanders back to its origin. Unified field of blue before dialectics, in which language's first, truest form was silence. I mean the bluest, most perfect silence, before even Eden. I believe it returns to its source, finally, the way seawater does. And I'll give you, as poets like to do, your 2-poem wording. I'll read just a couple more. And then maybe we can chat a little bit if you have any questions and things. And we'll be signing books in the back if you want to pick up copies of those. And if you're the type of person that likes hardcovers, you can get one. It's just a little harder. You can get them from my publisher, Orison Books, online. I have the hardcover today if you want to kind of check it out and see. It's really beautiful. This is a new press out of Asheville, North Carolina. If you're a poet and you have a book, they have a contest. So I would love to be on press with you. That catfish poem, that I had some scales on my catfish and they don't have scales. So little things like that. It's good to have an editor who can. Otherwise, you come off as really phony being from this rural place and not knowing these things. I'm just going to read you 2 more poems. Let me read you a short one and then kind of a longer one. The first one I'm going to read kind of takes us back to the river. Let me find it here. And I read you Llano River Sunset. So what I'll do is I'll read you Llano River Sunrise. Let's see. And this is what I'm reading this because Susan really helped me with this. And when I was 20, I guess I was 22, and I was trying really hard to be a poet, and everyone was saying, "Yeah, he's not very good," and she was like, "Keep trying," which really made a big difference, you know. And this was a poem she liked, and it operates on this idea of a mirror. So by halfway through the poem, you get the poem in reverse. Llano River Sunrise. This morning dark, the light is turning into morning. Slowly, clouds sift sand and yellow perch. You walk beside the river, falling in. Fish swim. Fish swim the river. Falling in, you walk beside the sand and yellow perch. Clouds sift slowly into morning. This morning light. The dark turns into morning. Slowly, clouds sift sand and yellow perch. You walk beside the river, falling in. Fish swim this morning dark. The light is turning. I guess it's impossible for light to really turn, but sometimes you can take liberties and have fun in your poems, which is always exciting. So I'm just going to read one more poem. This is probably the oldest poem in the book. This is called City Limits. This is a great poem to close on because if you ever drive into Llano now, maybe you'll think of this poem which kind of introduces you to the place. Thank you so much to Malvern for hosting. Thank you so much to John and Susan for reading with me. This is such a pleasure. And we have some other great poets in the audience. Ryan Bender Murphy, my buddy Sam Sachs. This is great to be here. Exciting. Definitely would like to talk to y'all after if you want to talk to me. If you don't, that's okay. And on that note, city limits. Once every year, we slaughter the bulls. We make burnt offerings to God while clans of poor Tejanos jump in old Ford trucks, waiting to melt thick pools of asphalt for new roads. We take our time when we make love. We are proud soldiers who have twice toured Iraq, our loaded guns, our livelihoods off safety. We have fought wars you would not, and still do. Eating what we kill here, we are true deer hunters. Our bullet wounds are proof of what we've witnessed outside church. Only suffering can make a body bleed enough to cleanse it. We work so hard some days our backs swell up on loading docks like Christ's, but we keep loading anyway. A few of us, the lucky ones, drive forklifts. The rest still use our hands. This heaviness, this waiting for the weight of day to pass into the arteries of night. Then we can rest. Blood is the weight of sin we carry. Blood is the color of the sky over our town. We make burnt Walmart offerings. We still light candles with their promise of return and say, Merry Christmas. The swimming pool is where we go to waste our time, there or the Sonic, with its cheese fries, flurries, drinks. And at DQ, you get a dipped cone for $1.25, although it used to be much cheaper. By 10, most people fall asleep. The rest shoot pool at Granite O, where you cannot buy liquor, only beer, and young men swallow any evidence of prayer. Each bottle empty, full, empty, shattering on concrete means a fight will soon start. The milking does and dappled fawns lie in the brush outside our plywood houses, bedding down. When they rise, it's Saturday and rainy. Poor kids start to wrestle in the mud, wake up their parents in the trailer park. By noon, they're playing soccer with the red ball the bravest one took from Dollar General. And then on Monday after school, our JV practicing. Yellow jackets, combs of crabgrass at their feet, new helmets gleaming, insect phalanx. It must be August once again if, past this line of repeatable boys whose skull-white collisions chorus like rifle fire, we hear male peacocks with their shrill calls cry a song we can never forget. That first music of suffering. Thank you.